Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to Talking About Sports here with Raman. So let's talk about NRL. What a week. Definitely, the Dragons kicking off their game against the Knights at home. It's really good to see the Dragons actually find some form there. The Knights have just been utterly terrible. Definitely deserve to be at the bottom of the table at the moment. Seems to be no guidance, no leadership. I thought the Knights would actually perform a lot better after the Origin period, and Caleb Ponga really only got picked because Reece Walsh was out. Ryan Papenhuyzen, I feel like he should have been in the mix there for the Maroons jumper, for the number one. But yeah, the Dragons, they turned up. They had a really good match there against the Knights, winning that 20 points to 6. Then the Knights actually faced the Manly Sea Eagles, who toppled the Broncos on Saturday night. Knights were never in that game. The Dragons basically just put them to bed. So they got, some interesting matchups coming up for both sides there. Moving on to the next game, the Gold Coast Titans and Melbourne Storm. Yeah, Storm coming off a bye. They're still right there in the mix in the top 4. They look like definitely a contender for the premiership this season. Their wins, have been coming off the back of their halves as well as their forwards. Massive full pack that dominates the Melbourne Storm, and that's why they're sitting currently at in the top 4. Gold Coast Titans need to find some answers seriously. They've just been, shocking most of the season. They have lost, some players due to injury and form, like David Fafita due to form. I'm a massive fan of Adam Khan-Pereira as well as Keanu Kinney. And I really love Tino Fasula Alamali. I think, he's a great leader for that team. But, it's going to be really interesting next season. Does DCE slot in the mix with the Titans or the Roosters? There's still a lot of talks happening on where he's going to end up next season if he does not do a backflip and retire. So the Gold Coast Titans, definitely Des Hasler needs to find some answers there for his boys. Otherwise, they're going to be, staring at the bottom of the ladder coming into September. Now, a game that went to the wire, the Cowboys and Tigers. I mean, you've got to feel sorry a little bit for the Tigers. I've got a great mate of mine who is the Tigers fan, and they seem to be there or thereabouts. And one of their bogey teams is the Cowboys. Last time the Cowboys put a severe score on them was 74 points against the Tigers. They actually got dicked by Melbourne, about a month ago, 64-0. But, Cowboys have always been, I would say, the Tigers' bogey team, especially that 2005 grand final with Benji Marshall in the mix there, and the Tigers going on to win their first NRL premiership as the West Tigers. So the Tigers left it late, unfortunately. There wasn't enough time on the clock for the boys, for the Tigers to get over the line. And the Cowboys ended up doing, just enough to get them the 2 points. I personally felt Scott Drinkwater had a fantastic game for the Cowboys, leading that side from the pack. His breakaway try, really just sealed the deal for the Cowboys in that match. So, yeah, the Tigers definitely need to find some answers. They've got a tough couple of games coming up with the Panthers, next week. That is definitely going to be a match where both Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary face off there, if both are selected and picked. The Panthers are now starting to find form, and it's going to be a really interesting as well as surprising mix on seeing, that Jerome Luai mix versus Nathan Cleary at the 7 and 6. If we move on to the game, the Broncos and the Sea Eagles, I did pick the Broncos. I thought, they were the favourites, and, going in, I thought that they would end, a bad losing streak in the last couple of months. But, Manly are the side that, 1 week they're good, the next week they're shit. But, they turned up at home, which is great. And, there seems to be a bit of chemistry issues happening at the moment at the Sea Eagles camp. But no, it was great to see Manly get that win. And I didn't actually watch that game fully. But I can say, Manly played a game where they just ran right all over the Broncos. And Ezra Mam definitely is trying to find his footing back again from that 9-week suspension. And, without Reece Walsh, they, heavily relying on their halves, Ben Hunt, as well as Adam Reynolds, although Ben Hunt's been injured for quite some time. So, yeah, Broncos chopping and changing their coach, chemistry issues with the side, players wanting to retire, Payne Haas potentially wanting to move on from the Broncos at the end of the season. So yeah, they're definitely in dire shreds at the moment. The Broncos need to find some answers very quickly if they're, in contention for a top 8 spot, and if they're going to be around in September footy. Now, Sunday, being at work at 4 o'clock, trying to watch the Warriors game on your phone is not the great experience. We don't have, unfortunately at my work, they don't have a VPN that allows you to watch the Warriors games or any sporting streams. You have to data it, and it was just horrible. But at least the boys got the win in the end. Mitch Barnett went off with, potential serious knee injury, which will be updated later this week in terms of who's going to be around for the player selections to fit in the spot. It was good to see the Fish play. It's good to have him back. Very close game in the end. I personally felt, we were 12 points better if Luke Metcalf had made those 3 other conversions. So our points differential is still very low, but it's quite surprising, being on 5 points differential and being in the top 10. So that's a bonus. That's a plus. Rabbitohs were definitely in it to the dire end. Latrell Mitchell, I can definitely say he's someone that does not give up, and his tries, off the back of some interceptions, costly errors of the Warriors, definitely on the edge seat in the last 10 minutes. So yeah, I'm glad the boys managed to reclaim the 6 points that they lost against Canberra Raiders the week before. But yeah, a win's a win, and the boys are seemingly managing to find these wins on the road, and they've actually got a pretty good record at the moment. They've only lost to the Melbourne Storm away this season. So 3 losses is only to Melbourne away, and they've won every other game in Australia: the Tigers, the Dolphins, the Rabbitohs. So 3 out of 4 games away and 5 home games, of which they've dropped 1, as well as the Las Vegas game to the Raiders. So the Warriors are there or thereabouts. They will be missing Mitch Barnett, potential knock to Rocco Berry. He's potentially might not be playing this week's game. So yeah, but 2 standout players for me. Chance Nickel-Clockstand, ran over 300 meters that game. Just fantastic stat. Great leadership, saved 2 tries for the Warriors against the Rabbitohs, and scored a magnificent try in his try celebration. It's just great to watch. But yeah, personally, I also felt Lika Halasima, he's had a really good season with the Warriors. He's been fantastic, coming off the bench and just, playing in that position. So yeah, not much fully to say. I can say that we just need to work on, actually sticking to one kicker, or having a combination with someone on the left side and someone on the right side. I still will pick Adam Pompey any day of the week. His stats to show right there in terms of the leadership. So move on to the other games. I did pick Parramatta. Dad, I think, picked Penrith. So that was good that he changed that pick last minute. But yeah, Panthers are starting to find their form. And I feel like for the Panthers, they need to continue this form going in. It's now or never. And so they're slightly on the rise. They're only really 3 or 4 points out from the top 8. Scary thought. They could be there in the mix come September time. So, yeah, Parramatta, it definitely was a semi-final game. I felt like it was definitely a qualifying match of semi-final. Just the way it was played, Eels were up, Panthers came back. It was played at Combank, the home stadium of the Eels, which, the Panthers are claiming at the moment, whilst their stadium gets revamped. But yeah, I'm technically 4 out of 7. I think Dad's I'm technically 5 out of 7. I think Dad is 6 out of 7 this week on the picks, so that's great. But yeah, there wasn't no real excitement in terms of anyone standing up for the Eels. It was more the Panthers, and it's great to see Brian Toher had a fantastic game. Nathan Cleary, yeah, he is the prince of the West, and he just showed up. Desperate times calls for desperate measures, and yeah. Anyways, moving to the last game, the Raiders Roosters. Jeez, it was a nerve-wracking game. Pick the Raiders. I mean, could they do it 2 weeks on the row? The last game on the Sunday, it feel really bad for the Raiders because, they've had 2 Sundays in a row. For all those Raiders fans having to wait for their side right at 8 o'clock on a Sunday, the last game, which was just gone. It was really good to see Ricky on the sidelines, that passion. I'm a big fan of, coaches that show that passion for their team. It was just a game. The Roosters definitely were in it to the last minute, and yeah, not much I can say really. I don't follow either side, but out of those two, I do prefer Canberra. And it was just great seeing the Canberra fans in the stands of Allianz Stadium in Sydney. Rugby league is definitely getting more exciting by the minute. Each round is definitely proving to have, a game or two of the round. And just a little bit thing about the Raiders, they have had the actual hardest draw to start the season, but their draw, surprisingly enough, actually gets a lot easier after the buys. So the Raiders, when I was looking at that last night, I was like, oh shit, they could actually be, first or second come September if the results go their way. They got the Dragons, I think, a couple of times. They've got the Knights twice. They've got Parramatta. They've got, the West Tigers. They've got Panthers, and then they've got the Bulldogs later on. So, all their hard matches with the Raiders have actually already been and done. And they have the odd one to 3 games later in the season against, premiership sides. So, yeah, that's a wrap on round 13. Thank you so much. That's just my little insights for the week. And, thanks for, tuning in, having your inputs, watching my videos. You know what to do. Give a like, leave a comment, or whatever, Peace out. Thank you.